So what if you could talk to someone you've lost? And I don't mean just in your memories. I mean, what if you could talk to them through your phone? We are, right now, at this incredible and honestly really sensitive crossroads where technology and grief are starting to merge. And we absolutely have to talk about it. It's all about artificial intelligence and the role it might play in, well, communicating with those who have passed on.
And that's really the big provocative question, isn't it? Technology is forcing us to face this, and not as some sci-fi thought experiment anymore. This is a real, practical thing we have to deal with. So what are the possibilities here? And, maybe even more importantly, what are the responsibilities that come along for the ride?
Yeah, this is absolutely not science fiction anymore. The whole idea of creating a digital ghost, a simulation of a person you've lost, well, it's now a reality. Something you can literally download to your phone. You know, that line between just remembering someone and actually reliving moments with them, it's getting razor thin.
But, this new power, it's tempting, right? It has this seductive pull. But as the research shows, there are some very serious risks involved. It's what's being called a dangerous promise, and it's a difference we really, really need to wrap our heads around.
This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It really gets to the core of the dilemma. I mean, look, we all want comfort when we lose someone we love. Of course we do. But the question is, at what point does that comfort, when it's being delivered by an AI, become a kind of prison, a beautiful cage that stops us, and maybe even them, from actually moving on?
Okay, so let's get really clear on what we're talking about with an AI simulacrum. The best way to think about it is like the most sophisticated parrot you could ever imagine. Seriously, it can mimic a person's words, their tone of voice, even the way they showed affection, all because it's been trained on a ton of their data. But, and this is the crucial part, the point being made here is that it's just an echo. It doesn't have that essential spark, consciousness, a soul.
And that is where the real danger lies. It's this risk of swapping out the genuine, painful but necessary process of grieving for an interactive illusion. It's been called a digital child, something that responds to algorithms, not to actual independent consciousness. The idea is that love, when it's forced to stay connected to an algorithm after the soul has moved on, it can get twisted.
So this really brings us to a major fork in the road. There's a really powerful argument being made here about the huge difference between making genuine contact and just creating a digital replacement. And believe me, they are not the same thing at all.
All right, so let's actually break down these two paths because they could not be more different. On one hand, you've got the tech path, right? The AI simulacra. It's all built on algorithms. The whole goal is to create an illusion of presence, which, as we've heard, can kind of trap us in the past. But then, on the other side, there's something totally different. Instrumental Transcommunication, or ITC. The idea here is to use technology as a tool, a way to try and make real contact. Its foundation isn't code, it's consciousness. And its goal? It's evolution. For us, and for them.
And this quote, it just perfectly sums up the whole principle. Think about it. For any real communication, for a true bridge to be built between our world and wherever is next, there has to be someone conscious and participating on both ends. An algorithm just can't be one side of that bridge. It's that simple.
Wow, okay, this is a really deep philosophical point, but it's so important. The idea is that the pain of separation, as hard as it is, has always been the thing that helps love mature and helps us grow spiritually. So the argument here is that by using AI to just skip the grieving process, we're not only cheating ourselves out of a really fundamental human experience, but we might actually be getting in the way of the spiritual journey of the person who has passed on.
So if AI's substitution is a dead end, then what's the alternative? Well, that brings us right back to ITC. This is what's being put forward as a possible true bridge between worlds.
And the key difference here, it all comes down to control. See, unlike an AI that we build and we command, ITC is described as a cooperative effort. It's a two-way street. It supposedly requires collaboration with beings on the other side. And get this, according to the researchers, they have to actually give permission for the contact to even happen.
So you're probably wondering, how does this actually happen? Well, visually, it often starts with something just like this. Researchers will use the noise, the raw static from a TV screen, almost like a blank canvas. The theory is that a consciousness from the other side can somehow manipulate that random noise and shape it into clear images. And then, out of that static, an image like this can appear.
This is what's called a transimage. The face you're looking at right now is believed to be Joaquin, a young man whose family was trying to make contact with him after he passed away.
And you can imagine for the families, this is just incredibly profound. Joaquin's parents, Carlos and Ada, said this. They said, the recognition was instant. It was total. They saw little details like a certain knowing look in his smile that for them, well, it was undeniable proof that it was their son and that he was alive and well, just on another plane of existence.
And look, these experiences aren't just isolated incidents. Here's another really powerful example from the research. This is believed to be the face of Mrs. Irasema, who passed away during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. For her family, seeing this image emerge from the static, it wasn't just random noise. It was a profound, undeniable moment of contact.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds like a big argument against technology, but it's really not. The research is actually super clear about the proper ethical role for AI in all of this. It's about using AI as a powerful tool, not as the source of the communication itself.
And this is where AI could be an incredible ally. Think of it like a superpowered magnifying glass. It can sift through countless hours of audio or visual noise and detect these tiny, subtle patterns that our human eyes and ears would just completely miss. It can help us find that needle in the haystack. So it can amplify, it can analyze, but what it can't do is replace the consciousness on the other side of the conversation.
So here's the bottom line, the most crucial point. AI's role should be to support the science, to amplify and to analyze. It has to remain a tool in our hands, an instrument. It can never be allowed to become the oracle, the actual voice of the beyond. That is a line that, according to this perspective, we should never, ever cross.
And all of this really brings us to what some are calling a critical moment for us, for humanity. We're living in an age where, let's be honest, we've kind of fallen in love with our own electronic reflection. And because of that, we've got some really, really important choices to make.
And really, this distinction is everything. Look, we can, and maybe we should, use our best technology to explore these frontiers of consciousness and reality. Why not? But we always have to remember that a tool that helps us understand something can never, ever replace the sacred experience itself.
And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. If there's one single thing to remember from all of this, it's this. Technology, code, algorithms, they can build some absolutely incredible things, no doubt. But they are not the bridge between worlds. The bridge is and has always been consciousness. It's love, it's intention, it's awareness.
So we're left with this question, and it's not just for the researchers, it's for every single one of us. As these powerful tools become more and more a part of our daily lives, we have a choice to make, a choice about one of the most fundamental human experiences there is. Are we going to choose the comforting illusion of code, or the much more challenging, but maybe, just maybe, truly transformative path of consciousness? The choice ultimately is ours.